continue.
Hi, I'm Julia. I'm a creative nonfiction editor for This Side of West. And today, as part of our interview series, I will be interviewing Leslie Joy Ahenda. Hi, Leslie.
Hi.
Leslie Joy Ahenda is a poet and recent graduate with distinction from UVic. She's currently pursuing her master's degree at the University of Guelph. She's an editor for Augur magazine and has previously edited for the Malahat Review and This Side of West. And her first chapbook, Threnody for a Drowned Girl, is coming out within the month with Moon Jelly House, which is very exciting. So Leslie, what's inspiring you lately?
Thanks, Julia. Lately, I've been really inspired by art that isn't writing. I've started painting. I've started noodling around on my guitar, writing a few songs here and there, and I'm really just moved by particularly moments where I can create something with somebody else. I really miss the connection of being in rooms with artists and just making things, but whenever the opportunity arises to just be in community with people, however that is able to happen, and just spend some time making some art that doesn't have any expectations tied to it, has been really inspiring for me. It's been really nice to sort of get away from the pressures that I sometimes can feel when I'm approaching poetry, because it's a professional thing for me. It's really nice to just take a step away from all of that and just experience creativity in its rawest form, just for its own sake.
I love that. That's awesome. Is there any particular piece of art that lately has been on your mind?
Um, of my own or of other people's?
Either. Both.
Okay. um, well, lately I've been so entranced by this one series of paintings by Eric Olson, who's a Canadian painter. The series is called Cosmos, and he painted the sun and then all of the planets, and the way that these paintings are presented is just so powerful, and I'm incredibly moved by them, to the point where I'm writing some poems about them. That has been really exciting for me.
That's awesome. I hope I get to read them at some point. So I wanted to ask, obviously starting your master's degree has happened under different conditions than anything we're used to. And I'm wondering, how has the transition been from being in an undergraduate writing program to a graduate writing program at this point in time?
Yeah, it's been strange. Currently, the program that I'm in at Guelph, the first semester of it is structured pretty similarly to what I was used to at UVic. I was in 2 workshops and 1 larger class. It wasn't really a lecture class like the electives at UVic, but it was like a large seminar, basically, with all of the graduate students in it. And so day to day, the structure was pretty similar, but the actual, like, the workload's a lot more. I think that the level is higher, which is to be expected. And the thing that's the most challenging, I would say, is just the fact of doing it online. I stayed in Victoria instead of moving to Toronto to do this, because with COVID, I just figured there wasn't really much point in moving to a new city where I didn't know anybody, only to have to quarantine at home for the whole semester anyway. So I stayed here, which has been nice, but it's been a little bit hard to sort of feel like I'm breaking in socially, and it's developed over the semester, but much more slow.
I think you froze there. I don't know if that's on my end.
Between the people that you work with.
Sorry, do you mind repeating that? I think it just froze
Okay.
for a minute when you were talking about that it's developed more slowly.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
So it's the thing with workshops that I've found through my undergrad was that the first few weeks, the first month maybe, when people are getting to know each other, it takes a while to sort of click into that really generative space of being able to bring your work to people and accept their work and be able to read it for their intention and hold it with the grace and the care that is required to really go deep into the work. And I feel like in an online setting where the only times that we really get a chance to interact with each other are in Zoom rooms, that the depth of that relationship develops much more slowly. So I only really felt that complete trust and that complete community in the last few weeks of classes, and now we're done for the semester and we won't have those workshops again. So that's something that I mourn the loss of the closeness that I know a workshop can have.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I'm still really grateful that we're able to do it at all. It's better than the alternative for sure. I'm really overjoyed that I still have the opportunity to do it, even with things the way that they are right now.
Of course, yeah. It's tough. It's definitely a big adjustment, but yeah, that community is huge. I think a lot of people have been experiencing that. How have you found that the current circumstances with COVID have impacted your writing experience? Like, have you made any adjustments to your process? Are there steps that you're taking differently? How's that been for you?
It's been a bit of a challenge, which I'm sure is true for everybody. For the first few months of quarantine, I really didn't write much at all. I just sort of took a step away and I was like, I'll come back to you when I can. For now, I'm just getting through. And now, because I'm in school, I have to be writing and I am finding a lot of joy in it, but it's still challenging. And I think the main reason for that at this point, no, I'd say there's two reasons for it. The first is that I don't write well at home. I never have. And that goes for schoolwork too, but especially writing and creating. My home has always been a separate space for me from my creative space. I had to go elsewhere, to the library or to a bar or to a friend's house or anything really just outside of my home. And now I'm not allowed to leave my home. So it's been challenging trying to construct a space where I feel like it can be creatively generative, even though I've never really been able to develop that before. So things like redecorating the rooms every once in a while so it feels like a different space, to just going into different rooms in my house, to changing the quality of the lights, anything that I can do to try to make the space feel physically different from the place where I just sleep and eat, because that's never been, there's some cognitive dissonance going on there for me that I still haven't quite figured out, but I'm on my way.
Of course.
And the second reason is tied into the first, because I always create better when I'm around people. And now there's no one. But getting to talk to my friends or be in Zoom rooms with them when I can has been helping quite a lot.
Yeah, that definitely, I think, totally makes sense and definitely makes a difference. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about your upcoming chapbook, Threnody for a Drowned Girl.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. It's been in the I've been working on it for quite a long time. The first poems in this project came out of one of the workshops in my undergrad, in my third year actually. So it's been in the works for a couple of years now. Sophie Crocker has edited most every poem in this chapbook. It would not exist without her. Yeah, she was in the workshop where the poem started, and then this project of I guess I should describe what it is. It's a series of 17 poems that chronicles this woman who experiences sexualized violence, and then as a coping mechanism goes to the ocean, ends up descending into the depths and transforming into a sea creature of sorts. The whole thing is just about healing and hope and transformation, to a conclusion of sort of recognizing that this experience has fundamentally changed you, but that it doesn't have to continue to be a negative change once you learn how to heal from it. And it's not linear, and it's not easy, and it's not simple, but that healing is possible eventually. It's the trajectory that the book takes. So I took this project. Sorry, Julia, were you going to say something?
No, go ahead.
Okay. I took this project to the Banff Center with me when I went back in 2019 in October and worked on it there for a bit. That was where I wrote the last poems, and then I spent the next several months editing, submitted it to Moon Jelly House, and which is run by Nisha Patel, who's the Poet Laureate of Edmonton, and she's incredible. And we've been editing it back and forth the last few months, and got the artwork done by Natalie Laughlin, who's an artist based in Calgary. And it should be off to the printers very soon.
Congratulations, it's so exciting. I actually did want to, that sounds so interesting, and I'm so excited to read it. I was going to ask actually about your experience at the Emerging Writers Intensive at the Banff Center. What, obviously you came out with a book, which is amazing. What were some other takeaways from the experience that other emerging writers could potentially benefit from?
It was an incredible experience. One of the highlights of my sort of poetic life, I would say. I got to go for 9 days, 10 days, something like that, in October of 2019. I was with 7 other poets in my cohort, and we were all under the direction of Kinesia Louvren. We got together every day for workshopping for like 4 hours, I believe, and then the rest of the time we just got to go off and do our own thing and write our own things and hang out and explore Banff, and it snowed, so we were very cold the whole time, but it was still such a wonderful experience. And the friendships that I made there, I think, are the most important thing that I left with. The relationships there are just incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I think your audio cut, so I didn't quite hear what you said.
Oh, I just said that's amazing.
It was so moving to just be in this space, and I was with our little group of poets, but then there was also a group of short fiction writers, I believe.
Oh, cool.
I don't know if it was short fiction. I know that there was a novel group, and I know that there was a nonfiction group. I feel like there were 4, and I might be missing some people, but I might be missing some of the structure, but the people I will not forget. They were so amazing, and getting to just have meals with writers and talk about art and language and anything,
Mm-hmm.
and just have every group got to have a reading, which was also really amazing to get to see. I got to go and see the novelists read, which blew me away when I saw them. the level of talent that I got to experience and share in there was just so wonderfully moving. My only complaint is that it wasn't long enough, so I definitely want to go back, and I would highly, highly recommend Banff Center residencies to people who are looking to develop their work and form relationships with people outside of just the university.
Mm-hmm. That's really cool. And were the readings and stuff, was that open to the public, or were you just sharing with the other members of the program?
It was open to anyone, I believe, at the Banff Center. There are tons of programs going on all at the same time. And you could pretty much go to all the events that you wanted to that didn't conflict with your schedule. I don't know how much, I don't think it was closed to the general public, but also the Banff Center is sort of removed from the rest of Banff, so it's not super accessible to just like walk into unless you already know what you're going for. But I believe anyone could have gone. Actually, I met some musicians. I think I met a cellist in the hot tub one day, which was very cool. We just talked about music and just vibed in the hot tub for a while. It was very cool.
Oh, that's awesome. That sounds really great. Yeah, the Banff Center is such a cool place, and also the food there is so good.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was so much better than I even expected. I think we got cheesecake one day that just blew my mind. I loved it so much. And on our last day, we had part of the funding that we got was that we got there was a meal plan that we were on, and we had money left on our meal cards at the end of the program. So there's another section of the restaurant that's apart from the buffet, and we went there to this like fancy place, and all the poets together, we just sat at this one big table and just had really nice wine and really amazing food. It was a very moving last meal to share with all of them. That's a memory that I'm going to cherish for the rest of my life.
Yeah, that sounds incredible and like a very transformative experience. Mm-hmm. I know you've mentioned several times finding inspiration through collaboration and through other people and through other art. And I know in your work, your voice is so creative and fresh, and it's extremely unique. But I was wondering if there were any poets that you've looked to for inspiration while you've cultivated that.
Yes, tons is the short answer. The long answer could last 10 hours, so I'll try to keep it a little more succinct. I'm just looking at I have a couple different bookshelves in this room, and the one that's right there that I'm staring at is the little collection of really moving books. I'm just gonna pick from it and pick out a few names. First, Kinesia Lubrin, of course, always and forever will be my number one. She was the poet who, when she spoke at the Banff Center, there was one day that she was a part of the panel and they were asked a lot of questions. And one of the things that she said was that a book of Dion Brand's is what brought her home into her poetry. And that really resonated with me because I feel like Kinesia brought me home. There's one particular poem in Voodoo Hypothesis, and it's called Give Us Fire, or The Black Prometheus. And that poem, when I read it, I was wonderstruck. And then I read it 100 more times, and I've spent countless hours picking apart every little detail that I can find. And still, every time I read it, there's something more to find there. And I just love this book so much because I feel like I was a little bit lost before I found it. When she launched the book in 2017, I believe, she went on her book tour and she had a stop in Victoria where she read from it. That was the first time I met her. I don't know if she remembers that we met that day because it was very brief and she didn't know who I was yet. But I met her and I read the book, and I finally felt like, oh, there's room in this world of Canadian poetry for someone who thinks and writes the way that I want to, and for someone who looks like me and has experiences like the ones that I have. Because before that, I just hadn't really been exposed to contemporary poetry by Canadian people of color. Because the syllabi from the classes that I'd attended hadn't really had a focus on that. And I hadn't gone out of my way to find it on my own. So I'm so grateful to Kinesia, and she'll always be number one in my heart. Then there's Morgan Parker. Her book Magical Negro is so good. Very different in language and style than Kinesia, but just as incredible, just as moving. That book made me feel more seen as a human being than I've ever felt in my life. There's one particular poem, it's called What I Am, and it is, I can't look at it right now because I'll probably cry, because I do every time I read it. And the last one I'll mention is Aisha Sasha John, her book I Have to Live. Yeah. When I met her and got it signed, she did a reading and conversation at Open Space a couple of years ago, and I met her and I was just, I don't know if I should be embarrassed or not. I hope that I played it cool, but I was definitely blushing, and I was so like starstruck at meeting her that I just was like, oh, it's so nice to meet you. Please sign my book. I love you. She was so kind and so gracious, and I love her, and I love her writing.
That's so beautiful. I love that. Thank you so much. And anybody watching this, definitely check out those books. They're amazing poets, and I know personally I've read 2 out of 3. Can't wait to read the third. Just absolutely stunning. Thank you so much. I guess I was gonna ask, just because you have had so many publications, for somebody who's emerging, you have like really created a name for yourself, and I mean, it's amazing and very inspiring. And I was wondering if you have any advice for younger emerging writers who might be looking to start submitting their work.
Yeah, I know that there are some people who suggest going into a year of submitting with the goal of receiving 100 rejection letters. And that's not something that's ever really vibed with me. Maybe because I'm sensitive, I'm not sure. But I just feel like there are more efficient uses of your time than submitting. And I get that the intent is not rejection. The intent is submit so much because you're going to get rejected a bunch. So submit that much so that for the 100 rejections you get a few acceptances as well. So the rationale makes sense. But for me, I've found it more fruitful to seek out, look at the publications that you're interested in, and the ones that fit your style of writing. First of all, always read at least 2 issues of a magazine before you submit to it. Always. And what I would suggest is look at the mastheads and see who's editing on this and how they write, and if the style of writing that they do is something that appeals to you, if their work is the type of community of work that you want to be a part of. And I would say look at specific calls for submissions from specific people, see what resonates with you, and then pursue those streams. and then keep trying until you get it. Because yeah, you're gonna get rejections and they're gonna sting, but don't give up, because I promise there's room for you. You just gotta find it.
Thank you so much. That's really, really, really helpful advice. Yeah, I think that going in with the goal of rejection always felt a little bit counterproductive to me. So this is a really fresh take that I really appreciate.
Yeah.
I think, thank you so much for this interview. This has been wonderful to be able to talk with you and hear all your ideas about poetry, and I can't wait for this to be shared. I think just one last thing that I want to go over so that everybody who's listening can experience your amazing words. Where can we find your book?
Yeah. First, thanks so much for having me, Julia. This has been incredible. My chapbook will be available from Moon Jelly House at moonjellyhouse.ca when it is published. They'll have a few copies that they'll be selling, but the majority of it will be coming directly from me. So you can go to my website, ljahenda.com, and under the section books, you'll find it right there, and you can just send a little request to purchase a copy and I will fill that out.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I can't wait to read your book. And thank you so, so much for doing this interview today.
Thank you. It's been a delight.
All right. I'm going to stop this recording now.